happened during the Kamikaze campaign. There was about 25 planes coming at us from all directions.
In this particular time, I think there was 7 of these planes, jet planes, that dove on us.
All of the ships in the Gulf, we were all refueling at sea. And we'd take a destroyer and a carrier, or a destroyer and a battle wagon, or a cruiser and a destroyer, and everybody would circle. It was just like wagon train,
Right.
going around the circle. And that's when the Japs came in that morning. I mean, it was just after daybreak that they came in.
We were circling around. The tanker was in the middle. And we just were going about a couple of knots, 2 or 3 knots, whatever. And I was on radar. We were on short range, and I picked up planes coming out of the lane. Picked them up. It was about 2 miles. By that time, they were in their dive. Suddenly, all hell broke loose. The ship was firing away, and all of a sudden, we got hit.
The first P-38 ever saw in the South Pacific came over, shot down a Jap right off of our fantail. The next thing you knew, the next one hit us on the fantail and hit the catapult, and she just blew. And that's when I got hit. Everybody else on the fantail just got blown over the fantail.
And Butterworth was killed.
Yeah,
But Graysdick and Kelly bailed out. You know, the blast took them over the side.
Destroyer picked them up and saved them.
This destroyer behind him, our destroyer, was shooting at them guys because they figured they were Jap pilots. And finally our captain said, hey, look for survivors. And I guess these fellows was in the water for maybe an hour or so. I don't know, it's quite a while.
Yeah.
But anyway, they did see him, and this destroyer picked him up.
He was upside down when he hit the ship. And when he hit it right where the metal ended and the wood deck began.
Right.
He hit it at an angle. Of course, when he went through the deck, it went through a bulkhead and down through another deck and went down to the 4th deck and hit an I-beam, and it bent it, 6-inch I-beam, and it bent it like that when the motor hit it. Of course, the body followed the motor down.
My watch station was steering aft. I got trapped in steering aft when the bomb hit on top back there in the kamikaze plane. It was 5 feet over top of where I was at back there, so I got her again.
That's where my bunk was, right by the post office door. When the mail called, I had to crawl my bunk to let the guys go get their mail. That's where the bomb blew everything up. So I didn't even have a toothbrush. That was it.
I was in the sky aft, which was the aircraft director toward the stern of the ship, and when the kamikaze came down and went right through the deck, I still have a little piece of shrapnel that plane exploded. Of course, it was carrying, I think, a 500-pound bomb, and it exploded. And I still have a little piece of the skin of that Jap plane that I found stuck in my shirt.
The heat from that bomb going off, see, it hit upside down. The bomb went off, of course, it pushed him through, but then the shrapnel went out like that, and it tore the silos, we called it, where the caliper turned on. Then it went all the way down to the bottom of the ship, where they had the 2 tanks, 25,000 gallons of high-octane gas.
But that hangar deck was half full of water. They were throwing CO2 bottles. You know, they was just uncorking the CO2 bottles, and the guys with the asbestos suit and that RVE breather were just running up and toss them in there, and they had that foamite, the nozzle, and they had a water hose cooling those guys. And they come up with that foamite, and they finally just smothered, got on top of that gasoline and smothered it out.
Whoom! A 4-foot square blaze come up, scared the daylights on the high in the world, kept blowing the fantail off that thing. So our lieutenant commander over the R Division, Lewis, was there, so they brought him a 40-pound charge of CO2. He popped that thing, dropped it down in it. Didn't do nothing. They brought him another, he popped it, dropped down in it, and do nothing. They brought him a third one. One of them said, pin it. Well, he charged it, pinned it, dropped down and put it down. See, there was two down there that didn't go off.
One on the hangar deck went first. Then the one on the port side was just right. Well, they were all practically
It
diving at the
was-
same time.
Well, that plane, honest to God, I said my last prayer. Coming between our stacks, if it hit the stacks, we'd have been done. That thing flipped like that and went right between our stacks. I never knew a big plane was so big. It looked like a dirigible going through there.
This pilot got so close that I put my arm up like this because I figured, well, this is it.
Well, while the guns were pumping at him, we're looking straight up, and here comes the one down our stack. And we were the only guns firing at the time. Everybody else was firing. They didn't see that one coming down. Because our gun was aiming up there, we saw him and we kept firing.
A 20 or a 40 cut the inside of the wing off, and it tipped this plane just enough that it went right down, just about at the water line.
He clipped the side of our ship. That's where he put that big hole in it. And when that darn thing hit, the water spray went probably higher than our stack. And when it come down, I thought I was overboard. I was
It sheared the rivets right above the water line.
And
Now,
the armor plate.
yeah, it went in, come out and shared them all. And it's right even with just below the floor in the machine shop. We had a red-headed tall guy that run the machine shop, and I went down and he was turning wooden pegs, driving them in the hole. Every time a ship rolled, the water would come in it, and he was turning pegs, driving them in them holes.
That they flooded a couple of compartments on the other side, they put it on an even keel, and they brought it back that way. But we were taken on the list.
They told us to abandon our mount and jumped off of the mount, and I didn't even know I was hit. And I went to the bulkhead, grabbed my life jacket, and was climbing the ladder going up to the middle level, and I couldn't go. My leg was, I didn't have no leg.
A lot of these guys on the top side, duty stations, shrapnel would fly, and severe injuries from shrapnel.
And I saw a fellow that I had known lying there with his shoulder and arm missing.
My buddy, Brown was his name. He was back there on that plane that was on the caliper. He was a airplane Mac. And we'd had so many dummy runs at that time of day, and when the GQ went off, or air raid alarm went off, one of them hollered, "All right, Brown, get out and get a blow." And he said, "Oh, just another dummy run." And when that thing went off, a shrapnel cut one arm and one leg. I saw him go off the ship.
I was up on the in the gun director, where we could stick our head out the top and look down on the deck, and I saw men lying there that had been killed by shrapnel.
The shrapnel had gone right through the faceplate of that 5-inch mount, and blood was running out the hot shell chutes. And I'm sitting up against the bulkhead like this, and all of a sudden two guys came along and picked me up and took me down to sick bay. The most pathetic thing I ever saw, they were taking me from the middle level to the officers' quarters where they had sick bay. And as we're going down the quarter deck, looked across, got over the second kamikaze had hit, and there's a man over there, and his arm is blown off here, and it's hanging by the skin, and he's hanging onto the rail like this, with his right arm, and the rest of his arm is blown off, and it's hanging by the skin. If someone would have walked over there and just cut the skin so it dropped off, he would have been a hell of a lot happier. Oh, that was weird.